Hi, in this class we're going to look at how to quickly design better business cards. I would like to mention that we have a live participant in our class, so if you see me look here, it's because I'm interacting with our live participants. If you want to follow this project, there are resources in the link below. Click there and download the resources folder to work along with us. Alright, so this is a practical based project. We're going to start with a brief and how we translate a brief into a design. So the clients asked us to design a suitable business card for Good Life. So who is Good Life? Good Life is a company, and in my attempt to ask more from the clients, and I also like to mention that this is not a real client, it's just a dummy project, but all the principles that I'll share with you, you can apply it in your own personal project. You can apply all the tips and tricks that you learn in this project in your own personal project. The client said, actually, I don't have any particular idea. However, try not to make it seem too complicated. So this becomes a little bit challenging because we don't have much to work with. The more we have, the less the stress becomes in making the right decision. And I would like to just say something here, that designing for clients is like somebody asking you to go and do shopping for him or her. Let's say you have a friend and your friend says go and do shopping for you. Your only chance of success is if you know the taste of your friend. So this is the case. The client just said, actually, I don't have anything particular, however, try not to make it seem complicated. And also the client said that our organization is a high-tech company which engaged in the manufacture and sales of medical, health and personal care products. So this also helps kind of determine the tone of the project and a little bit of the visual direction we want to go. High-tech company. But over here, by analyzing this brief, here are some few things that I want you to take notice of, especially when you're working with a client like this. Keyword one is not too complicated. Make it not seem too complicated. The design should be simple. Another one is high-tech company, personal care. These are things that speaks to you. So moving forward, this is the logo. Now, based on the brief, our only chance of creating something that the clients will love is we make a design that is inherited from the logo. Because one of the secrets, like one of my secrets when I'm designing for clients, let's say you are my client and you give me a brief and we have the logo, I'll pick all my design elements from the logo. Why? Because you already love the logo. So if I pick my design element from the logo and I present it to you, you will love the design. I don't have to go and look for any free template, all those things. When I bring it to you, you might not like it. Why? Because imagine somebody looking at the way you dress and he goes to a boutique and buys the same style of dresses and he brings it to you. You obviously like, wow, I like wearing these dresses. So the same here, working with the client like this, we pick the elements. So with this logo, for example, we can see that there are 3 colors here. So that is the first element we'll pick. The 3 colors. You sample the 3 colors. So back into Photoshop. Now there is resources folder. So I have all the files there in the resources folder. So with this in Photoshop, we can actually sample the colors. Open the logo in Photoshop and sample the colors. So I'm not seeing it because my fill is set to none, and in the tools options bar, these things has to be changed. So that is the first element we will choose, that we know that the client will like these colors that we chose for the project. That is the green, orange and blue color. So we have our first element. The next element is the shape. The way the shape is, it looks curved. We can also take inspiration from the leaf. The way these elements, we can also repeat some of these elements in our design. So that is our first approach, by using the element in the logo to create a design. Now, our approach to solving this problem, I said, is to use design elements in the logo to create that same design. We are going to use the element of shape and form I talked to you about previously, the element of shape or form, the element of color. We discussed that. I just sampled the colors in Photoshop. You're going to use the element of type. You're going to use the same typeface the client used in his logo. We're going to use the element of pattern. We can also pick inspiration from, so this element, if I use the lasso tool or for lasso tool, we can use this as a pattern. You get it? If I select this, we can use this as a pattern. You get it? We can use this as a pattern in our design. That is just an option. We can decide not to use it, but let's see how this project goes. So that's also one element, an element of pattern. Now our visual direction is by using this element, you're going to create something simple, something delicate. Under normal circumstance, you want to go online and look for inspiration. I already did that, and with this project it's a little bit straightforward. So if you've done this so many times, with this you can just look at the logo and create something based on what I call visual vocabulary. You build a lot of mental images of designs. So that is why it is very important to take a look at a lot of designs. Go to inspiration website, take a look at designs, look at the design elements, and have a mental picture of a lot of designs. That helps you build your visual vocabulary. So we now have our direction, that is by using the design elements in the logo. Now I created this version of the business card. We are going to take a look at how we did it. So this is option 1, and this option, the visual direction, is by using this shape of the logo, and it looks simple, it looks straightforward. I use the same typeface. The back, just use one color system of the logo. The website, this is simple. I also created another version, which is this. So with this one, I actually just changed the layout and just change the position of the title, and the back I made the logo big, and I used the logo as a pattern for the back. So we are going to take a look at how I designed this and some of the tools I use in creating this. So let's go right in. Let's create our documents by going to File, New. So File, New, and we are going to name the document business card. Now the business card, the size of a standard business card I know to be 3.5 by 2 inches height, and the resolution I'm going to set it to 300, and the color mode should be set to CMYK because it's going to be printed. Now if you are not using the latest version of Photoshop, you might not have artboards here. So I have artboards, so I'm going to check artboards and create. Now we want front and back of our business card. So to do that, with the artboard selected, just click here to duplicate the artboard. The next stage is you bring in our logo. The logo is already in the project file, so you bring in your logo. If all that I'm talking to you about right now is like I'm speaking Spanish, you don't understand me, it's probably because you lack the fundamentals. So I have made a video, the basics of Photoshop, how to use the tools. So check that out and come back and watch this project and work along with me. So we bring in the logo. That should be outside the artboard. So we said that the first visual element you're going to choose is the colors, which we already did, but I will just do it again by using the shape tool, selecting the rectangle tool, making sure that the fill is set to a color, stroke is set to none, and just selecting this. So I'll just duplicate it and I'll sample the colors from the logo. So color is also a visual element, you get it. So when I talk about our visual direction, is going to be, you're going to use a visual element. Color is one of them. So now our decision has been simplified right now because we have the colors we are going to use for our design. So now the last color is a gray from the type. So with this selected, we're going to start our design by bringing in the logo. So we have the logo here. Just hold the Alt key and duplicate the logo, make it a little bit big like this. Now let's create our shape. Now to create our shape, there are different ways we can use the pen tool. We can also use the warp tool. So we're going to use the warp tool here, and we're going to create the shape. So with this, using the rectangle tool, you create a normal rectangle, double click, and sample this blue color, and you just press Ctrl T, right click, and choose the warp. Now with the warp, what we do is we go up like this, and we use the handles to move this like what I'm doing now. Now this takes a little bit of finesse, so just take your time, play with it, and you get the right angle. And if you want the same exact, I will just advise that you just bring the business card, the mock-up of the business card, into your artboard so that you can have kind of a visual reference. The purpose of this video is just to walk you through how I did this, and you can use the same principle in creating your own business card very quickly. And this will actually make you a better business card designer, because these principles, business card is one of the most simplest marketing collateral. Knowing how it works, especially knowing the principle of choosing your visual direction from the elements in the logo, is one key factor in creating beautiful, simple, successful business cards. So with this brought in, it should help you, kind of give you a visual reference as to whether you are on the right path or not. So with this done, what I'll do is I'm going to duplicate this, of course, Ctrl J to duplicate this shape. Now we are going to create those shapes there, and to create it, we will actually change the down layer to first to orange. It's orange. Push it up like this. Now after pushing it up like this, we will use the direct selection tool and select this. Now this is the point we have to add another anchor, like another point here, by pressing the P key to activate the pen tool, and we add another anchor here, and we push this in. So now that we have something like this, all we do is we just want the orange parts of the shape that has created, but the shape is actually bigger than that. By turning it off, you can see. So to work around this, we are going to use layer mask. If you have no idea what layer mask is, I have a course that teaches you how to use layer mask. Check the link in the description, you will have access to that. So with this done, we will first, follow me carefully, select the top layer, hold the Ctrl key, and click in the square thumbnail. That is going to make a selection around it. So now we're going to use this selection to subtract from this beneath layer. So we are going to actually delete this part of the, we don't want this. And to delete that, before we do that, let's select the shape, the orange rectangle, and press Ctrl Shift I to inverse the selection. Now that the selection has been inversed, once you add the layer mask, it's actually going to hide this part of that shape which we don't want. So I'm going to turn this back on. So with this on, what we can do is you can actually select the orange and use the up arrow key to nudge it up a bit. So now we have this parts of our shape. The next, which is the green parts, all we have to do is just duplicate this shape again, and this we want to use a shortcut. I tried it personally. Let's push this up and bring this here. So see what I'm working on. I just duplicated the shape and I pushed it up. I pushed the one I duplicated up and changed the color to green. Now with this done, our goal here is to use layer masks to hide the top. Say with this one, we are going to use layer masks to hide this section. So with the mask selected, we use the brush key, making sure that we have a very hard brush. We can use the left bracket key to reduce the brush size, and opacity should be set to 100%. So once we start hiding this part, we don't need this part. So the same applies to here, right? We also hide this part, we don't need this part. So we just duplicate the shape and we put the one on top and we hide, because layer masks black conceals, white reveals. If you know nothing about layer masks, you will be stuck here. So go and watch my layer masks class by clicking the link below. All right, so now that we have our basic shape, and now let's do the typography. The font we are using is Avena. There is a link in the description to get the font. So we just type John Smith, and the font size is 12. Obviously the color should be white, and we have the founder. So type this, founder and CEO. Now with the founder and CEO, we are going to add contrast in weight and contrast in size. So what do I mean? So the contrast in weight is by making it light, and the contrast in size is by changing the font size to 6. So that makes it very, very small, and we put that here. So let's actually make this 5.5. Our goal is that it becomes readable, and we're going to increase the tracking of this to 50, because once a type is made smaller, we have to increase the tracking to make it legible. Now once this is done, obviously we will bring in add the phone number. So we're going to add a phone number. So the phone number is 984/478/2092. Now I want to mention here that anytime you are using phone numbers in your design, it is very useful, and it helps to add some breaks to it, so that the people who pick up the business card, they can easily remember, or they can easily use the business card, especially when they are typing out. Adding spaces helps them in capturing the phone number easily. So this decision was actually made to help them capture. So I'm going to duplicate this, and the phone number here doesn't really matter, so you can just make it whatever number you like. The most important thing is you get the whole concept of us creating this. So I'm going to make this the email info, small caps, info@goodlife.com, and there should also be a website, Alt-Drag, and the website should be www.goodlife.com, and Alt-Drag, and there should also be a location, which is Private Street. Now this, you can see that I'm just putting anything there because that is not the focus of this class. California. All right, so with this done, I actually have to check California. All right, so with this done, what is left is we add icons. Now anytime you are designing, when it gets to a stage like this, you want to make sure that the space in between the individual elements are the same. So you select all the text and you distribute them horizontal centers to make sure that the spacing is the same. And we actually want to make the spacing a little bit bigger, and select all of them and distribute them vertical horizontal centers. Make sure you don't select any shape that is not supposed to be selected, and just distribute them. So over here I accidentally selected the background layer, which I was not supposed to, so I have some struggles here and there. So now I have everything selected and I'll distribute them horizontal centers. So with this done, let's save our work. So you go to File, Save As, and let's save our work before. So I'm going to save it on the desktop as business card, PSD, and save. So the last step of our process is to bring in the icons, and with the icons I have all the icons I used, so you can just open all of them in Photoshop, double click on them. Now let's start with the phone number. We bring this in, we put it here, right click, convert to smart objects, and rename it phone. Naming your layers is very important. It helps you stay organized and helps you streamline your workflow. So we're going to make the icons very, very tiny. You're making it tiny but also legible, changing the color from color overlay to white, making sure the opacity is set to 100%. So I'm going to repeat this step for the rest. So this is the phone. So once I bring it here, it's the same process. I will name it to cell phone. So the first one is more like a telephone line, the second one is a cell phone. And I'm going to duplicate this color effect on the cell phone. So by holding the Alt key, I can duplicate this on this. So that is how this also works. Now, I'm going to select the internet icon, put it here. Now, the internet icon is locked, so I have to unlock it, right click on it and choose convert to smart object to protect the image from pixelation, and also hold the shift and the alt key to make the size very small, and by holding the shift and the alt it constrains to the proportion. So these actually depends on the version of Photoshop you are using. So if you are using 2020, by holding the shift key and resizing an image, it actually distorts it. So it works for you based on which version of Photoshop you are using. So the last but one is the email. So with this before, let's resize this before we rename the layers. Holding the shift and the alt, I resize this. Control plus to zoom in. Just make it very tiny with my hands on the shift key. Now I'm going to name this email, and I'll name this web. You get it? I'll hold the Alt key and drag this on top of this. Now the last one is the location. We bring that here. Obviously we have to zoom out, shift Alt, and so now I'm just positioning this. I'll just name this location and hold the Alt key and drag this FX on top of this. All right, so one key principle here, that anytime you're working with things like this, you have to be mindful of your decisions. Make sure that your icons look the same in size, the same in color. Consistency is key here. So to help us do that, we use the rulers. We drag that here, we drag that here, and we make sure that the size of our icons are the same, are actually aligned. So make sure that the size of our icons stay within the same size. All right, so once this is done, we are pretty much done with the front side of our design. This has to be pushed up a little bit. Now we push this here to create some kind of space between this and the down part. In the next lecture, we look at the back side of our business card. To create a back side, we just use a rectangle. We created a big rectangle at the back. The color, obviously, is blue. And we just selected the logo. Now, once I bring the logo here, you can see that the logo is on a white background. How do you work around something like this? So to key out the white background is a smart object. So obviously I have to open the smart object and we sample the white. So we go to select color range and you sample the white. The fuzziness set to 69 is fine. Okay, then you just press the delete key to delete the white section. Right click, convert to smart object. Now once you save here, it will update the, you can also just drag and, but saving it to update is the easiest or the fastest. So once I come back, you can see that the image is here. So all we have to do is to change, go to FX color overlay and change the color to white. So that is how to work around a logo that has a white background on it. You have to also duplicate this and put it here. Now here, whenever you're working with a URL like this, and one trick is to increase the tracking a lot. That gives it that feeling of expansiveness. So it's also a nice way of utilizing the space. So you're going to set it to 200 or maybe 400. Yeah, so this is kind of a nice trick you always want to use. So we have to also make sure that this is centered. So by using the Control A, we make a mark around it and we center this logo element. So that is all for this first part of our business card. In the next lecture, we're going to look at the next part of our business card. All right, so let's look at another alteration of our business card. So to do that, you're just going to select the artboard one, hold the Alt key and just drag this to duplicate. So this is all about another alteration. So I'm going to delete all this shape, delete that. So the next alteration, there are some text here which I actually have to group all of them. By selecting the last one and holding the Shift key, I selected the top one, Control G to group, and I actually have to, for the meantime, turn this off. We have to create a shape, so we use the rectangle tool and we create a rectangle like this. You get it? We have to set the shape of this rectangle to blue, and we use the same warp tool. So by pressing Control T, it activates the warp. Right click and choose warp, and we go from this section. So at this point, you see, our visual direction for creating this business card was to use the visual elements or the form of the logo. So over here, I'm looking at the form. See how the logo is over here. It slopes and comes out like this. So we are also going to slope and come out like that. So how do we do that? So we actually have to push this here and come out like this. So this is what I mean by the visual elements in the logo. So I'll use the direct selection to select this point and push it in. So with this, we have the form of our business card. Control J to duplicate and select the down one and set this to green. Change the color to green, push it out a little bit like this. Now we're going to do the same thing we did here by making sure we have the green selected. We select the direct selection tool and make sure that the anchor handles are active by dragging around it. And now we use the P key to activate the pen tool, and we just make a point in the middle. All we do is to push this inward like this. So with this done, the same way we did the other one, we will duplicate this. Now before we duplicate, let's first of all subtract this part of the green by holding the Control key and clicking on this thumbnail of the blue, and you're going to subtract that from the green by inversing the selection. Control Shift I to inverse the selection. Then we add a layer mask. So with this done, we can actually push it up here a little bit. So this is the direction you want to go, and we duplicate it with Control J. Make sure you duplicate it. Now we push this up like this, and we bring it in. So now we have two. So the top one should be green and the down one should be, say, orange. So let's make one orange and let's make one green. So this orange. So how do we, okay, let's make this one orange instead. We make this orange and make the top one. So with the layer mask selected, see, I have the layer mask thumbnail selected. If you don't see your thumbnail and you've been watching me, then that means that you have to right click and choose large thumbnail. You have to actually right click in an empty section of your, over here I don't have any empty section here, but if you right click here, you can choose thumbnail, layer options. If you go to layer options, you can actually choose large thumbnail over here if you go to the layer options. So now I have my layer mask selected for the orange parts. So with that, I'll press the B key to activate my brush tool and increase the brush size. If you have your caps lock turned on, you will not see your brush. So turn off your caps lock, and we're going to delete this side, making sure that you have your hardness set to 100, the flow 100%. So we're going to delete this part of our brush. Now we have to make one simple trick by zooming in. Let's go back and select our direct selection tool and just nudge this here. We have to make sure that our shape actually ends here. So let's select this one too and nudge this, tweak it a bit. All right, so with this done, we can go ahead to delete this side. So let's delete with the B key to activate the brush tool and black as a foreground color. We will delete this side and select the green one too and select the layer mask and delete this side. So that is how we go about doing this. So the rest is just we select the top text, hold the Alt key and duplicate here. We select the down text, make sure we group the text elements. So all these goes into, let's say, contact, and with this I can just duplicate, hold the Alt key and duplicate, and you can see that I left some space in here. You can also use space as a visual pause or contrast, so that also serves as a layout technique. By when the person picks the card, he looks at the name, then there's a pause before there's a contact, the contact details. So we'll use the same strategy by duplicating this artboard, and over here the approach I use is just duplicate the logo, and we use the logo as a pattern. So remember I said the visual element you're going to use to create a business card is from the logos. So the shape, the tone, the shape, the color, and all that. So we're going to use the logo itself as a pattern. So by making the logo very big like this, we just want the shape of the logo very big. Put it to the background. We lower the opacity of this So this also serves as a pattern. So we can set it to 5, and it also serves as a pattern for us. And this is a very good way of designing a business card. And I hope my approach to solving this problem for these clients, by doing this, you've learned a lot of things that you also apply in your own personal project. Let me know what you learned in this very class, and if you didn't understand anything here, it's probably because you don't have the fundamentals, which is the base of Photoshop, layer masks. I've made videos on that, so kindly go and check that out. So that's all for this class, how to design better business cards. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like and share this video if you find this content valuable. And thank you so much for doing that in advance. I'll see you guys. Bye.